Story 1. I grabbed the emergency brake in my old Nissan truck and ripped a fart at the same time. She thought I was trying to cover up the fart with the emergency brake noise. I, in fact, was trying to do exactly that. It did not work. Story 2. I brought her to my room where I had video games, posters, and a couple of weapon displays hung on the wall. I was 19 or 20, and evidently, she thought that was too nerdy. Thank God I dodged that bullet. The amazing woman I am married to now collects and displays her hobbies more than I do, and she loves how nerdy I am. Story 3. Immediately, I told her to stop talking about her ex while we were having a little situationship, and she got offended. Progressively, she was not getting intimate within a couple of dates because I was still interested in getting to know her more, while she already wanted me deeply and thought I was not man enough. Story 4. I see your answers, but I'd like to clarify. What I mean is that you did a specific action, and you could see it in their face. My two personal experiences were: 1. We were late teenagers hanging out outside, and I spotted a nest. I mentioned I loved birds. He proceeded to bring down the nest and put it on the ground. I thought it was hilarious. 2. I was walking home from the bus stop, and he was following me on his bike. We were just talking. A couple of his friends showed up on their bikes and started riding alongside him. His attitude totally changed. He could see it in my face but didn't stop making rude comments and showing off for his friends. We never spoke again. Story 5. Not get in a physical fight with her father. No, really. Back in my 20s, I was seeing a girl who was 21 and living at home. I was 22 and on my own. After a short time, it became clear she wanted nothing more than to be a party girl. I was not into that, so I did not participate, but I also did not tell her how to live her life. Her father assumed her partying behavior stemmed from her relationship with me, for obvious reasons. I think she was with me hoping I would be her gateway to a clubbing lifestyle. Staying out all night, doing drugs, getting drunk, and dancing until 7 in the morning. That kind of thing. Anyway, her father came to my apartment one day intending to beat me up for how he thought I was changing his daughter. When he arrived, I was practicing my DJing while she was on my couch getting drunk. I, stone sober, invited him in and we had a quick conversation. At that point, he realized I was not the reason behind her bad behavior. He tried to take her with him, but she belligerently told him off. I suggested she go with her father to eat some dinner and then get some sleep. She got mad at me for not stopping her father from coming in, as if it were my fault she got caught drinking during the daytime. She wanted me to go as far as hitting her father in the face to prevent him from checking on her. Now, she needed some checking on. She then slept with my employee the following week, became pregnant by him, got addicted to meth with him, and they had a child affected by meth exposure. She left me a day or so after the incident with her father. She was a clear example of beautiful on the outside but rotten to the core on the inside. Live and learn. Story 6. I reciprocated the interest. I think I lost the allure as the quiet person that everyone was afraid to talk to. Story 7. I was drunk and hyper and managed to scare away 2 girls who came to sit at my table by banging my fists on it. Youth. Story 8. 2 situations come to mind. 1. Driving an older Honda Civic. Apparently, I am considered broke because of that, and she does not associate with people who are broke. 2. Using an Android phone. She did not like green message bubbles. Story 9. Took them out on dates and paid for the meals. I'm still trying to figure out what I did wrong. For 2 different women, no less. Both slowly stopped responding after dates that I thought went well. I directly asked them what I did wrong, but they insisted that I did not do anything wrong, so I do not even know what to work on. Story 10. For the women lurking around this subreddit, what is it about reciprocated interest that makes you lose interest? It seems almost everyone has been through that. Story 11. I made a joke about liking river dancing. She stopped talking to me right after that. At first, I was like, what the heck? But honestly, if that joke went over her head, we would not have gotten along anyway. Story 12. I see a lot of people saying they don't know. Speaking from experience, it's rarely the specific words you say, unless those words are the kind you cannot come back from. But usually, it is not about words. It is usually actions, whether you did something she did not like or did not do something she expected, hoped, or believed you would do. Of those two, it is usually the latter. Words are just words and can be easily corrected. Behavior and actions reveal your character. Enroll in a class, talk about it, and then drop out. No good. Get fed up with a job after the first month? No good. Cancel or try to adjust plans at the last minute? No good. Be doing the same thing you are doing right now exactly 2 weeks, months, or years from now? No good. Nearly everything you do will make people more interested in you. It is what you don't do that bores people. Story 13. I am a woman, but a man did something that made me lose interest immediately. I have a dog. He wanted to take a spontaneous trip literally that same day. I said I can't because of my dog. He said, I don't understand young people who get dogs. I understand when you have a family and are older, but now, I'd hate it. It was so judgmental. I usually plan my trips on my schedule, not his, and that's fine for me because I love my dog. Don't like my dog? Don't like you and we won't get along. Story 14. Every woman is different, so it will vary. For those between 20 and 45 who are single and dating, when you are too nice in the beginning and show that you care too much, it takes the edge off the excitement and they often get bored. It sounds ridiculous, but even if they want all of those great qualities long-term in a relationship and say that is what they are looking for up front, many women during the first few months want a bit of everything. A bit of the chase, the unknown, adrenaline, excitement, mystery, passion, and even a bit of charming and smooth but still can be a jerk when needed behavior. The guy is confident and shows strength when necessary. Then, after a few months, once they have known you for a while, they want the relationship to settle. They want to see the nice guy, the solid and reliable guy, the guy who will choose them, make them a priority, and help them feel secure about the future. But they want all of that much later. When you are dating someone new, no matter how experienced you are, it is always going to be a different experience, and it almost never comes easy. Story 15. I'm an adult woman and would like to add some other reasons. Emotional immaturity, inability to control emotions, such as being a big, angry person who yells. Not taking control of mental health when it is an issue. Too many individuals say, I will harm myself if you leave. Jealousy. The belief that all women are alike, similar to how some say not all men. But this generalization applies both ways. Only being concerned with surface-level emotions and ignoring the fact that all humans have deep emotions. And the biggest issue? Not going to therapy when it is clearly needed. We all should. Story 16. On more than one occasion, I have said something that drunk me thought was hilarious and not as drunk me did not, and probably correctly too because young Mash was pretty clueless. Story 17. Gave her the people's eyebrow. She gave me the people's elbow. Still consider this foreplay, so technically a win. Story 18. Showed deep emotions. Had a moment of really struggling with something and broke down. We separated soon after. Story 19. I gave her the alarm code for my house since she stayed over every weekend. This scared her, and she ended our 4-month relationship. The code was only given in case she needed to go to her car or leave earlier than I got up. Story 20. She misunderstood something I said and became very distant in the following days. I tried clarifying and explaining things, but I guess she jumped to a conclusion about me and decided to move on. Oh well. Story 21. I said hello in a polite way to a female colleague. She bit her lip and said hello in a seductive way. I stared blankly. We do not speak anymore. Women can be unsettling too. Story 22. Let's flip the script. I was messing around with this girl about 2 years ago. She was attractive but a little too backcountry for me. She always talked about how tough she was and how, when she was younger, she got into fights. Obviously, this came from a place of insecurity and inferiority. One time we were at dinner and she kept saying, I should have beaten her, while vaguely describing how she would do it. Mind you, she was talking about a waitress who had messed up her order. The waitress was already feeling bad about the mistake, but this girl wouldn't let it go. I just sat there and looked at her until she finally stopped talking about it. In that moment of silence, I took a bite of my food, took a sip of my beer and said, I don't want to hear about that all the time, especially not over dinner. This poor girl messed up your order, and she's doing her best to fix it. She has apologized and even offered to take it off the bill. What you're doing is not only off-putting, but immaturity and ugly. There are better ways to show you're tough, and holding your tongue is one of them. Then I continued eating. She got up quickly and went to the bathroom. She came back with her makeup smeared from crying and said, "Take me home." I paid for dinner, tipped, thanked the waitress, and dropped her off. We weren't dating yet, but we're pretty deep into a situationship. I haven't heard from her since, and I'm fine with that. Story 23. I admitted I was inexperienced after she asked me about my last relationship. I am a 32-year-old man and have learned not to bring it up because it is a giant red flag. I do not go on first dates telling people about my lack of experience, but I used to believe being honest was best if I wanted a long-term relationship with that person. However, that is not true, and it is not worth telling women the truth because they will immediately look down on you as if you are less than human. Story 24. She noticed that I was not a jerk or an angry person like she thought I was because my resting face looks angry, and she somehow decided that I was not interesting anymore. Story 25. I gave my honest opinion about her staying with another man in a van for 3 weeks, and now I am being punished for it. Story 26. The first date was going well. She agreed that after brunch we would spend the day together going to the zoo. This meant she had to get in my car for a 30-minute drive each way, which required a lot of trust on her part. The conversation during the car ride and while walking around the zoo was great. I was clearly doing well. However, as we were getting into the car to go home, I started talking about current events. There was a news story about a woman who went on a date and was assaulted. I said something like, "You have to be so careful." As the car took off, the doors automatically locked with a loud thud, a feature of the car. I saw her flinch and look at me as if I was predicting something bad was going to happen. I noticed immediately that she had shifted to the other side of the car seat. I dropped her home, and she left the vehicle quickly, as if it was on fire. She never called me back. Story 27. I was diagnosed with cancer. While I was undergoing chemotherapy treatment, she said her feelings had changed. So she left me. Story 28. Ended up expressing emotions for them too soon, and rightfully so since it was early on and they were not what either of us had really signed up for. Story 29. I was at a wedding abroad where my recent ex was also invited. I was talking to a girl from the group, and it was going well, but I felt bad because my ex didn't know anyone there and my phone was dead. So I asked the girl to text my ex in the wedding group to invite her down to hang out with our group. I was just trying to be nice, but as you can imagine, that did not give the best signals. My friends didn't let me forget that for the rest of the trip. Story 30. I told her that I liked working out. She does not want to hold herself accountable and wants to be like the other 75 to 80% of Americans who are overweight, obese, or morbidly obese. By the way, look at this. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 73.6% of Americans were overweight or obese from 2017 to 2018. By 2025, that number is projected to rise to around 75 to 80%. This means that 75 to 80% of Americans are considered overweight, obese, or morbidly obese. These statistics leave men like me with nothing because we have standards that are not being met, and we hold ourselves accountable by going to the gym to get results. There are not enough attractive women to go around. Story 31. I remember about 13 years ago she had a proper conversation with me, including flirting. When I was drunk, the last time I drank, I blurted out how I lost my job, which was not the best way. She immediately shrugged and stopped talking to me. Story 32. I said I would pick her up after the game was over, and we could spend the afternoon together. She did not like that, which in the end was fine. It made me realize I had no future with her. Story 33. On a second date, we were chatting about movies we liked. Apparently, my choice in movies was not manly enough. Angela's Ashes. She was a big Transformers fan. The mood changed instantly. She texted me afterward and told me I needed to be more of a man. Story 34. Suggest booking a romantic weekend away after being in a relationship and sleeping together for a month. It just happened. Wow, I guess. Story 35. Told her about my student loan debt on the first date. Laughing out loud. This was over a decade ago, but I still remember that mistake. Story 36. Two separate women, two separate occasions, same reason. Because I did not make a move. The first time meeting one in real life and the other was the same, but right after that first hangout, I found out she was already involved with two other men. So, yes, I guess make a move on the first date, gentlemen. Story 37. I have a knack for noticing peculiar features about faces and bodies. When I was younger, I didn't have much of an empathic filter, so I would mention a person's physical features during conversation. It's important to note that I never had bad intentions, nor was I implying they were unattractive. For example, a girl and I were flirting in a bar, and we were hitting it off. I loved her energy and thought she was cute. However, I noticed a peculiar feature about her. She had small bags under her eyes, which I asked about. It turned out she was very insecure about them, and as a result, she told me off and then started flirting with my friend. Story 38. I was supposed to meet my date at a concert. We had met about 4 or 5 times before, and I thought she was perfect. I met her sister. She came over a couple of times, everything. She was very excited to be with me in all of our interactions. I ran into my cousin, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, at the concert before meeting my date. I gave her a big hug, we laughed, chatted, and I got her new number. I said goodbye and she left. I found my date, and she was unusually cold toward me. I asked her what was going on, and she said she saw me flirting with another woman. I explained that it was my cousin. She didn't believe me. I offered to show her pictures of us with the children and everything, but she said she didn't care and wanted me to get away from her. She was very serious. I said, okay, I guess goodbye then. I'm sorry. And then I walked away. I never heard from her again, and I was crushed at the time. But it's all good now. That was the most drastic change I've ever seen. Story 39. I told her I was blacklisted by a group of scammers because I kept trolling them every time they tried to scam me. Story 40. One time I spoke 2 sentences to a girl who approached me at the bar, and she immediately walked away. The entitlement makes them judge you even for the tone of your voice. Story 41. There are many, but the funniest is when they think I am gay and therefore did not have a chance and lost interest. Outside of that, it is probably something I said that they mistook for something else. Story 42. I see this question posted in this subreddit at least once a week. She was seeking attention, and I dislike that behavior. Story 43. I got mad that she took my glasses off my face at a dance club and bar. What I now believe, more than 20 years later, is that she wanted me to get my glasses back from her. I always miss flirting signals and obviously missed these as well. Story 44. Just a few weeks ago, I lost the girl I was closest to in a relationship. After months of seeing each other, I asked her if she would watch Revenge of the Sith with me in theaters because I did not have anyone to go with. That was enough for her to never speak to me again. Story 45. Asked if she would be interested in a female-male-female threesome. Hard to believe that some women do not like to share. Story 46. She asked me what kind of car I drove, and I laughed because I thought she was making an ironic joke. Apparently, this was her way of judging whether I was worthy of her time. I thought she was joking mainly because this happened in 1997, and the whole question about what kind of car you drive from women was a cliché from 1980s movies. I had never heard anyone say it for real before, which is why I still remember it. Story 47. When I was 20, I giggled at a number plate that looked like it spelled the word anal. She said she did not want to be with someone that immature. Story 48. She asked me for my number of previous partners, and when I told her the answer, she unmatched me. It was 0 and we are both Muslim. Story 49. A partner is not trained to be a therapist. They can provide support, and sometimes that involves coming up with solutions. However, it sounds like you want the people in your life to solve all your problems for you. Not only is that an unreasonable request, but it can lead to you being the energy drain. Only you can solve your own problems, although a therapist can help guide you. The people in your life can only be there for support and encouragement. That being said, you clearly have an opinion and are not going to be swayed. That is fine. I am concerned you are your biggest obstacle in life, and as much as I want to help you with that, I am not sure you actually want to be helped. Again, your life, your decision. However, others may feel the same and thus they walk away. Be well, brother, and good luck. Story 50. I kissed her too soon. I was too young, too bold, and too inexperienced, so I only read the signals I wanted to read. It was foolish. Story 51. Woman's perspective here. I've dated my share of great men, but either I wasn't ready for something serious, or I just didn't feel fulfilled in that relationship. Not necessarily because of something either of us did. It just wasn't for me. It's never been something someone did that made me lose interest. And if it was, in high school I stopped dating a man because he had unusual earlobes. It was because I was immature. Granted, I've never ghosted anyone. But sometimes it really is, you're a great person, you're just not for me. And that's hard to tell someone without coming across as insincere, but I'd hate to watch someone change to become what they thought I wanted, be unfulfilled, and end up missing out on someone who would appreciate them exactly as they are in ways that I just couldn't at the time. I didn't learn until my 30s to go into dating asking, is this person right for me? Instead of, am I good enough for this person? That shift in perspective made all the difference. Then again, some people need to work on themselves. Story 52. Express interest in her. Unless you are Henry Cavill, you do not get to choose. They choose you and you learn to be satisfied with it. That is why you cannot watch pornography, because you will believe that thin women with strong desires for sex with you exist. But they do not. Story 53. Told her I was studying mathematics, further mathematics, physics, and chemistry. I was about 17 at a concert. We had been dancing, she was interested in me, and I was young and inexperienced. I flirted as best I could, and she asked what I was doing. I told her, and she gave me a strange look and walked away. My friends teased me a lot for it. My friend gave her my number, and she contacted me later. Story 54. I came out as a conservative. I never saw the big deal. I watched my mom cancel out my dad's vote in every election from Lyndon B. Johnson to Barack Obama. When my dad lost his fight with cancer, after they both voted, they would travel into town, eat breakfast at Hardee's, and come home. They never fought over politics. They respected their differences. Oh well, her loss. Story 55. I had a woman try to explain to me why I was sexist because she had come on to me for about a week, during which I had already told her I wasn't interested. One day, I told her I don't like promiscuous women. Everyone who knew her at work had been involved with her. She told me she didn't even know what she saw in me, then tried to have an hour-long conversation about how I was wrong for not liking her because she sleeps around. Story 56. Be myself and accept the financial situation I am in, without caring about social norms related to sexuality. For example, the criticism of hookup culture was unnecessary. Purity culture is beneficial for those who want to be part of it, but otherwise, my opinion is that as long as such activities are consensual, everything would be fine if people were more open-minded. Story 57. I talked a guy down from a fight. A few friends and their significant others were at a bar with my ex-girlfriend and me. One of my buddies bought a few drinks at the far end of the bar and was walking back when he tripped and spilled a drink on a drunk man at the bar. The man blew up at him and put his hands on my buddy, who was a childhood leukemia survivor and had a disorder resulting from the treatments that caused him to be smaller than normal and scrawny. I got between them and talked the man down even after he pushed me a few times. I didn't want to see my friend get hurt, didn't want to get kicked out of the bar, and didn't want to get sued for fighting this man. So I talked him down, bought him a drink, and everyone went on about their business. My ex-girlfriend was not happy. First, she thought I interfered with my friend's sense of manhood, and secondly, she was upset because I let that man push me without pushing back. She asked, "What if that were me? What if? I am not going to fight a man when talking works just as well." I dropped her off and she called me to break up about an hour later. Oh well, she married an airboat pilot a few years later, and he abuses her from time to time. I bet she wishes she had someone to talk him down so she wouldn't get beaten. It would save them money on lawyers for his various court proceedings, that's for sure. Story 58. Slept with her sister, and I said Taylor Swift music is bad. You can guess which one she was more upset about. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.